Hello friends, I'm Ginger. I did a series of Bible studies on the book of Revelation. I thought I was done, but there's always more stories about the end of the world. And this one really made me want to talk about Revelation at least one more time. The movie is called Don't Look Up. If you haven't watched it yet, don't worry, I'm going to spoil the whole thing for you. Leonardo DiCaprio and Jennifer Lawrence play two scientists who see a comet that's going to be destroying the planet in about 6 months. They have a very challenging time explaining this to people. Not because people don't understand the science. They've all seen disaster movies before, but they don't want to admit they're living in one. People want to play it down with jokes. They have different priorities. The whole thing is really just too much of a bummer. They don't want to deal with it. Lawrence gets so frustrated during a TV interview. She starts screaming and swearing, and her angry face becomes a meme across the internet. Eventually, the US does try to make a plan to destroy the comet, but at the last minute, they cancel the rockets. Not because of the bumbling president, but because of her backer, a famous tech billionaire. The tech character is sort of an amalgam of Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos, and Bill Gates. All these people who have an outlandish amount of power and money in our world. He decides that rather than destroying the comet, they should knock it apart into several smaller pieces, so these pieces can be mined for all the valuable minerals they contain. However, his plan doesn't work, and the movie basically ends with the comet destroying the Earth. Our scientist friends are not listened to, and the people in power have chosen profit over human life. We talked a lot about the word apocalypse in my other series. Don't Look Up is both an apocalypse in that it's a story about the end of the world, but even more so, it holds true to the ancient definition of apocalypse. Apocalypse means revelation. Maybe it's a weird story, but each of those different pieces reveals something about our world, the real world, and we understand ourselves and our journey better through understanding the story. It's not really a story about a comet, but it is a story about potential Earth destruction. The creators of the movie have made it very clear that it's about climate change, although there's certainly many other topics that can be rolled into it. Issues we've had during this long season of COVID with denialism and conspiracy theories and a lot of the left versus right-wing politics. I wanted to look over a chapter in Revelation I actually didn't cover with you before. It's a section about the two witnesses. If you haven't read Revelation before, it's super weird. Just go with the flow. I'll break down the important points afterward. Revelation 11, 3 through 13. I will appoint my two witnesses, and they will prophesy for 1,260 days, clothed in sackcloth. They are the two olive trees and the two lampstands. They will stand before the Lord of the earth. If anyone tries to harm them, fire comes from their mouths and devours their enemies. This is how anyone who wants to harm them must die. They have the power to shut up the heavens, so it will not rain during the time they are prophesying. They have the power to turn the waters to blood and to strike the earth with every kind of plague as often as they want. Now when they have finished their testimony, the beast that comes up from the abyss will attack them and overpower and kill them. Their bodies will lie in the public square of that great city, which is figuratively called Sodom in Egypt, where also their Lord was crucified. For 3.5 days, some from every people, tribe, language, and nation will gaze on their bodies and refuse them burial. The inhabitants of the earth will gloat over them and will celebrate by sending each other gifts, because these two prophets had tormented those who live on the earth. But after 3.5 days, the breath of life from God entered them, and they stood on their feet, and terror struck those who saw them. Then they heard a loud voice from heaven saying to them, "Come up here." And they went up to heaven in a cloud, while their enemies looked on. At that very hour, there was a severe earthquake, and 1/10 of the city collapsed. 7,000 people were killed in the earthquake, and the survivors were terrified and gave glory to the God of heaven. I'm sure this wasn't an inspiration for the movie, but it's just one of those funny connections I see. You can read our two scientist characters as the two witnesses. They gave their testimony, they were hated, then they died. Unfortunately, DiCaprio and Lawrence didn't get superpowers or resurrection. People gloated and celebrated when the two witnesses died. I think this was partially because they were just so annoying. We don't actually get the speech of what the two witnesses were saying in Revelation. But it's very likely they were calling out sin. They were calling out greed, systems of inequity and injustice. They were saying, you need to stop mistreating your workers. You need to stop buying luxuries for yourself and starving the poor. Forgive debts. Free the prisoners. Take care of the sick. They are saying the same messages that Old Testament prophets were saying long ago, and true prophets are still saying today. People in power don't like those messages. I think a lot of people didn't like this movie because it's so preachy. Even people who agree with the premise of the movie can find it rather off-putting. Mind you, that is part of the joke. It's a meta-commentary on how people in real life aren't willing to take this seriously, no matter how hard you try. Whether through calm persuasion, scientific evidence, emotional honesty. But the movie spoke to me. I've been one of those annoying witnesses. I've been told, oh, you just need to talk about Jesus. Don't talk about politics. I resonated with a scene where Lawrence returns home to her family after she felt like she'd had no success and had done the best truth-telling she could on a national scale. Once home, her parents talk to her through the door and don't let her in the house. They say, we don't want any politics in this house. We support the jobs the comet is going to bring. This, of course, is a political statement itself. They're just not seeing it that way. They see her as being the politically divisive one. Of course, I don't think the moral of the story is that it's good to be annoying or that we want to be annoying. I would certainly rather be persuasive. I'd rather be winsome. I'd rather bring people together than dividing people. But that can feel impossible too. There was another scene that reflected reality well. The world is divided into two groups. Don't look up is chanted by those who are ignoring the incoming comet. Just look up is the message for those who think their countries need to take action. A famous actor was being interviewed on a TV show. The actor has made a little logo that's including the two different movements. It's a combination arrow pointing up and pointing down. He says, everyone just needs to come together and we can have both. Of course, this is comical nonsense. One cannot both look up and not look up. One cannot fight the oncoming disaster and also wait to mine it for resources. Unfortunately, sometimes it feels like there's nothing that can overcome materialism and greed. There's another famous story in the Bible about lost cause preaching. Luke 16:19 through 31. There was a rich man who was dressed in purple and fine linen and lived in luxury every day. At his gate laid a beggar named Lazarus, covered in sores, and longing to eat what fell from the rich man's table. Even the dogs came and licked his sores. The time came when the beggar died, and the angels carried him to Abraham's side. The rich man also died and was buried. In Hades, where he was in torment, he looked up and saw Abraham far away, with Lazarus by his side. So he called to him, Father Abraham, have pity on me, and send Lazarus to dip the tip of his finger in water and cool my tongue, because I am in agony in this fire. But Abraham replied, Son, remember in your lifetime you received your good things, while Lazarus received bad things. Now he is comforted here, and you are in agony. And besides all this, between you and us, a great chasm has been set in place, so that those who want to go from here to you cannot, nor can anyone cross over from there to us. He answered, I beg you, Father, send Lazarus to my family, for I have 5 brothers. Let him warn them, so they may not also come to this place of torment. Abraham replied, They have Moses and the prophets. Let them listen to them. No, Father Abraham, he said, but if someone from the dead goes to them, they will repent. He said to him, If they do not listen to Moses and the prophets, they will not be convinced, even if someone rises from the dead. We've already tried everything with you and your family, and you just wouldn't listen. And so there's a similar message, that there are people who are either so blinded by money and power, or who have been deceived to follow those who worship money and power above all else. How does one get that message across? What hope is there? Of course, that's one of the discouraging things about this movie, is that it feels hopeless. It literally has an unhappy ending. But there are moments of encouragement in this story. DiCaprio's character gets sucked into the game and power for a while. He loves getting to be famous. He loves getting to be desirable. And he even has an affair with a reporter. But then he has a come to Jesus moment. He's chatting with the tech billionaire who tells him the computer systems are now so advanced they can actually predict his death. And he says, "I don't remember your death, it was very boring, but I do know you die alone." We don't know our final day. DiCaprio's character had a good idea, though. Even after months of predicting death for the whole world, he is really shook by this idea. He doesn't want that. The movie instead ends as he has one last dinner with his family. He comes home. He's repentant. His wife and his sons forgive him. And they open up their home in hospitality to him and to the other scientists, and even Lawrence's tag-along boyfriend. In an earlier scene, the rich president's son, who's also the chief of staff, wanted to pray for stuff rather than pray for people. But in contrast, we see the scientist's family taking time for thankfulness, reflecting on all the good things they've had in their lives. It ends with DiCaprio saying, as the walls are starting to shake around them, and they know the world is ending soon, "We really had everything, didn't we?" It's a sad ending in the same way the book of Revelation has so many sad and horrible things in it. Even just in chapter 11, there's a massive destruction where 1/10 of the city is destroyed, and those who survive are repentant and return to God. Revelation is told the same way as Don't Look Up, as a cautionary tale. Please do better in the real world. People who follow God shouldn't feel hopeless. We have hope in Jesus. We can tell a different story. Don't miss the point of this story, and don't miss the point of Revelation. God so loved the world, and God is not abandoning it. We shouldn't either. You may not be a powerful person in this world. Maybe you only have a small platform, or feel like you don't have very much to contribute. There's only one religious character in this movie. He's played by Timothée Chalamet, and he becomes the boyfriend of Jennifer Lawrence. He is quiet about his faith. He's kind of embarrassed when he admits it to Lawrence in one scene and asks her not to tell anyone that he believes in God. But at the family dinner, they long for a religious ritual to seal their final time together. After they've given thanks, they say, "Should we say Amen? What are we supposed to do?" Chalamet's character speaks up. He has everyone hold hands, and he pronounces a lovely prayer. It may seem small compared to the scientists who were speaking to the whole world, but at the very end of the story, he becomes a witness too. I didn't want to give you a whole Bible study today, just some thoughts and different perspectives on this movie. If you are someone who is trying to speak truth in difficult circumstances, if you are getting rejected for being too annoying or poking at things that people don't want poked at, I want to give you a blessing for endurance and hope for the future to be a good witness and to make good changes for our world. Please check out the rest of my Revelation series and let me know your thoughts. Thank you for listening.